I did a great thing in the Isle of Wight a week ago, last Monday night. What an interesting place that is. Wow. And there were all the people that were there were really lovely people, all healers and therapists. And when we were talking at the end, it turned out that the majority of them, it seemed, had been influenced into that work many years ago by me without even knowing. And I was like, wow, what an amazing thing. Yeah. So, yeah, I've been having a nice time a bit like that. Like the old man getting his awards after a lifetime service type stuff, you know.
Oh, bless you. Yeah. You've said so much in amongst that. And, you know, I've often said you don't let the grass grow underneath your feet, to see that absolute least. And this is an example of that. We're going to get into it a little bit later on about how those watching can get their hands on one of these microdose tracks for free, but we'll get into that in a second, a bit later on. For those watching, you know, maybe they want the technical side of things, can you just talk us through what this, you know, these brain training is it, or the technology you use? Can you talk us through the, you know, the more technical side of things? Because I know some people love to know about that.
Well, I don't know how complex you want me to go, but let's just start off with the rhythm. You start off with the rhythm. Electronic house music has a basic 4 to the floor, boom, 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 boom. This is originally was aping the Latin / African and Native American trance-inducing rhythm. It was repetitive rhythms because that puts you in a trance to start with. However, we are very sophisticated animals, and we've got used to that boom, boom, boom over the last 20, 30 years or so. And therefore, we're able to discern patterns that are much more complex in the syncopation. So then comes how you mess with the snare drum or the hi-hats and whatever else to create, again, it's still repetitive rhythms, but they're so complex that they're not boring at all. So that's part of it. And then, of course, you've got the whole kind of the sound of the music, whether you want to elicit excitement or calming or yearning for a moment or satisfaction or all kinds of stuff you can do with the actual melodic aspect. So there's that, but we all know about that. Then under the surface of that, you have a subliminal series of subliminal affirmations. For example, it all works out. And then on the other side, everything turns to my advantage. And if you saw it all works out, everything turns to my advantage. And then you crisscross them. So it all works out. And then I've got 10 of them running at the same time. And you might think that's daft, but it's been proven that the mind will absorb up to about 12 of these different crisscrossing. And you can't hear them. You take out a lot of frequencies of one end and a lot of the other, and you put what's left together. I don't know how it works, but that's what's been proven to work, and it works. They go onto the stuff. You maybe hear me whispering a little bit in the background. I always use also a lot of people sounds anyway, a lot of recordings of people talking, and I mess with them and make them weird, and because or nature sounds, because unconsciously you feel connected to the world when you're hearing it. Especially as which most of our issues are about dealing with other people. So when you've got that kind of sound of people having a party or doing whatever they're doing, it creates some, associations that are healthy. Then running through, and, bearing in mind, every track is in a different key. The keys, I forgot to say, the key is important. You have E flat and A flat are the two sacred keys of India and Tibet and China. And if you do anything in E flat or A flat and to an extent C sharp, you will create an altered state immediately. So I do a lot of stuff in E flat, A flat, and C sharp. But then if like F is the most satisfying, reassuring key. For example, people might argue with that, but that's just the way I work. Yeah. Anyway, so keys are important. But then working with the keys, I create a chord, a moving chord with many inflections out of usually 6 different frequencies. And the different frequencies affect different parts of the body and the mind. And what we really want to do is get into quite quickly a gamma brainwave state, because that's the deep meditation state. You could go deeper to theta, but that's like hypnagogic. That's when you're kind of asleep. You're absorbing, but and I do go to theta. Because at time, not for long, because that's what can help you go to sleep if you want to do it when you're sleeping. So the frequency design is aimed to get you to alpha and then quite quickly down to gamma. And so that it's very quickly grounding. You feel, okay, I am who I really am. I'm not this pretense or this noise, this story. I am the big me, suddenly, straight away. That's what I'm using the frequencies. So they're not in there all the time. I use contrast because it's interesting. You don't notice them a lot of the time. This beautiful chord that I tune to the key somehow or other. And you got far left, you got say 300 hertz, far right 312 hertz, and the weird discord that creates in the middle, the midbrain creates a binaural beat out of the confusion. So that there's that going on as well. And it's the binaural beats that change the brainwaves. And so you'll have the frequencies are in, and then they drop out. And when they drop out, it's amazing. Oh, what was that? Like suddenly there's loads of space that you didn't even know wasn't there in the first place. So that's the kind of basic structure of it. And then on top of that, I'm using I lived with the Native Americans for 4 years, and I studied with R.D. Lang. So that the whole art of hypnosis isn't unfamiliar to me. And the working with the shamans or the medicine man, Joe Suaso, and in New Mexico, the way that you talk very playful, and you playful, and then the person's going to go, this is strange, but I like it. It's that kind of weird way of using the voice, the theatricality of it, which is informing the way I do it. Then 40 years now of working with positive thinking, affirmations, and how to structure them for myself, for others, and so on. And then doing a lot of live. I mean, I've done that. I did it live right from 1983, 84 in London, and with the drum off band that I had. And I'd shout out, "You're free to do whatever you choose. Say it. I'm free to do whatever." And everyone would go insane with excitement. And it's like, gee, this stuff really works, man. So I've had a lot of practice in Ibiza as well. Everyone's so cool. It's absurd. At the club nights you used to do there, having to find a way of doing it at work with even that. So I'm pretty okay at getting the lyrics sort of okay. I mean, I'm never, I always think, I could do so much better, but it's working, that they work. And I don't gratuitously try and do grime or hip hop. It's never been my thing. It's not my thing. So I think it would be insulting to do that. But I've got my own way of getting lyrics across, and that guides the mind along and it's all in the first person. So it's not, you should do this, you must do that. It's if I want to overcome depression, if I want to overcome feeling trapped in a situation I don't think I can get out of, based on the notion that reality mirrors me, so the way I say it is the way it will be, I say, then I do the affirmation. And it's so the person thinks they're saying it themselves, which they are, really. So it changes your internal dialogue to a different one. And they're catchy and they stick in the mind, and it does work. And people tell me all the time they work. And that's it, really, in a nutshell. And you can do it in under 3 minutes. That's the amazing thing.